Call to order. I'll just wait a minute here, make sure we're on. Okay, I'm going to call to order the July 20th, 2010 Garrett Hill Implementation Committee meeting. Please join me while I stand and pledge allegiance to our flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So you have an agenda before you, folks? Are there any
Motion to
additions?
adopt the agenda.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we have our agenda. Approval of minutes. I have prepared some track change edits to the minutes that I received. I do believe they're in order.
Motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we have the approval of our minutes. These are the minutes for the April 20th, 2010 meeting. Okay. Announcements. We have our Radnor Township Planning Commission meeting Monday. That's 8/2. That would be August 2nd here at 7 p.m. at Township Building. Also, this is a meeting of significance. There's a Design Review Board meeting Wednesday, August 11th. That's 6 p.m. here at the Township Building. At this meeting, they'll be reviewing the design of the Garrett Hill signs. So that's why that meeting is significant to us. And we have our BOC meeting August 16th, 7 p.m. at the Township meeting, Board of Commissioners. Report of officers. I would just like to suggest that each subgroup be prepared to discuss priorities within the subgroups at our October meeting. And I believe we should start to make determinations about the priorities within each subgroup and then begin to prepare to make overall priority recommendations. This is in preparation for our annual report, which is due by March 31st of next year. And I'd like to have a draft of the report prepared for our October meeting so that we can progress, and in January we can vote on the final draft that we'll be presenting to the commissioners. Phil, do you have any report?
No report this time.
Okay. Report of working groups. Let me see if I can start with the ones. Well, I'll start with parking and just say that there has been no activity in the area of parking. This includes permit employee shared municipal parking. I did, previous to the last meeting, meet with Officer in Charge Antonini, and he discussed the limitations of permit parking with me, and he, as it pertained to Garrett Hill, and he offered to meet with the community and explain what the possibilities were, within the scope of the limitations, their statutory limitations, and I thought it would be best if we organized that meeting in the fall when more people were likely to attend, and I still plan to do that. So that's that report. So we have parking down. Streetscape and facade Route 100 station. This is Phil and Nancy. I don't anticipate there's actually much to report in this area. My folder's empty.
No, there is no report on that one. We've really focused on other priorities to start with, so we hope to start doing something with that at some point in the future.
Okay, well, now that I have you, Phil, how about if we go to historic?
Ready for that one?
Yep, let's,
Okay, great. This is the report on the Historic Research Committee. And a couple of things I'll mention. First, meetings, we've had 4 total meetings since December of 2009. 2 of them since the last GHIC meeting, both on May 12th and June 8th. We had a meeting scheduled for July 13th, but it was canceled due to conflict with the Radnor Township meeting for members of committees. So we'll have to schedule that in the future for sometime in August or September to be determined. As an update, our focus remains on the research of historic areas within Garrett Hill and ways to preserve them, consistent, of course, with owners' interests. Primary focus at the moment is on Beechwood Drive historic homes of Wentworth Estate and the surrounding area, as well as the Radnor United Methodist Church and property. We had met before our last meeting for the GHIC, but we had met earlier this year with residents of Beechwood Drive and representatives of the Radnor United Methodist Church in March to discuss their interest in historic preservation. And they had a lot of questions, they were very interested, and we certainly found some green lights to find out how we could preserve some of the oral history of that, both from a historical point of view and also to see what measures we could take to preserve the history of those buildings. The committee members on this committee, about 10, include those from the Garrett Hill Implementation Committee, such as Rick and myself, some of the Radnor Implementation Committee members, and Garrett Hill and Radnor residents. So it's a good cross-section of people that are on that committee, this subcommittee. Recently, we've organized a historic tour of Garrett Hill, kind of a replay of what we did last spring, but specifically for interested people, mostly from the committee, and for Bob Ziankowski, the new township manager, Bill White, the new finance director, and Tammy Cohen, the interim parks director. We held that on July 8th, and we toured the Radnor United Methodist Church and surrounding areas, Conestoga Road, Garrett Avenue, buildings there all the way down to the Carriage House, Williams, and down Beechwood Drive to all the buildings that are down there. And it was a hot night, but we had a great time, and it was very well received by all the guests that were there. It was a great chance to meet township managers, Bob, and the new finance director, Bill, and also get to learn a little bit about Tammy. And we had a good interchange of people, and it was a great opportunity to meet with them. And I think they appreciated the effort that we did and the enthusiasm we have for Garrett Hill. So we'll look for some benefits from that. Some of the projects going forward are getting some Garrett Hill sites into the Radnor Historic Inventory. Apparently they were doing an inventory this summer. Greg Pritchard is working as an intern this summer to take pictures and document some of the history of some of the buildings. And we hope to have some of the Garrett Hill areas in that as well as a result of it. We plan on getting and preserving an oral history from residents, both in the Beechwood Drive area and Garrett Hill, the owners of those buildings, to hear about what they've known about them and to kind of get that down both on paper and almost an oral history, if we can tape that, so that we can preserve that for future generations. Investigation as to whether the Beechwood Drive and the Radnor United Methodist Church can be included in the existing Radnor ordinances concerning historic assets. That is to say, can we do this with existing ordinances that are in place? Are they to have the right touch for the things that the owners want to do and we'd like to do? And if so, we don't have to go ahead and write any new ordinances, but we can just go ahead and include them in things that are already existing. See if that's possible, or if we need to do something else. Also, we're doing some research into Garrett Hill's kind of a quote pattern of development as part of its history worth preserving, and to learn about that and to kind of document that in a way that perhaps we can use that as a way to create some kind of historic district resulting from that. Lastly, we're preparing for a possible visit either later this year or early next year by Michael LaFleur from the Pennsylvania Historic and Museum Commissions from Pennsylvania, and to get his insights into what can be done in terms of historic preservation here in Garrett Hill and other places of Radnor, and that would be very welcome to get, and to get his take on what we have here and some of the best ways to achieve that. The only other thing I have is anyone interested in this subcommittee can certainly join us. Either contact myself or Rick Barker, and we'll be glad to advise you of the meetings and make you part of the group. So thank you very much. Are there any questions about this subcommittee?
I could just point out that we're very happy to have Greg Pritchard one of the next steps is doing the documentation, and this dovetails quite nicely into the plans already for his internship. And also, just a little clarification, if in fact there is some historic designation for Garrett Hill, we would be using the existing harbor if at all possible, but we might still need new ordinances to accommodate that. And that's all I have to add. Any other questions? Thank you, Phil.
Good, thank you.
Okay, let's see. Well, I have the a GHCET document in front of me, so how about if we go there, Nancy? Is that okay?
Sure. The GHCET, Garrett Hill Community Enhancement Trust, met on Saturday, July 17. There's not too much to report from the meeting. We are still looking for an additional advisory committee member, so I'd like to hear from anyone interested. We discussed a number of possible concerns. We feel that with the SEPTA slope, for example, we need to check in with Commissioner Fisher about the status of things. But we focused a lot on one possible grant opportunity that we're looking at. Before I get to the grant opportunity, I will mention our next meeting will be October 16 at the Radnor United Methodist Church. That's a Saturday at 11 a.m. So I'd like to summarize the grant possibility briefly here for people. It's called a WREN grant, which stands for a Water Resources Education Network funding that is administered and comes through the Pennsylvania League of Women Voters. The amount of money available is small, up to about $5,000. The application deadline's in March, so we're in the planning phase, and we're very interested to hear from people what they think, and if they have any comment or any suggestions or would like to join in the planning, please let us know. The program aims to provide public information about practices that can help improve water quality and environmental quality and help manage stormwater runoff. There are many ways to do that. We've started looking at a few. The group that is working on the plan of the proposal presented a sketch outline, and I'm going to run through a few of the possible program ideas under consideration. The project proposed would be to develop in Macrone Park a few samples of good practices to use to help manage stormwater runoff and to improve stream bank quality and water quality. So I'll just list a few. These are environmental applications that are very simple, and then individuals can use them in their own property, in some cases just to handle runoff from their own roofs, or if they happen to be sited on a stream bank, it's also applicable. One that we discussed is a rain garden, a garden planting area that's sited in the flow of stormwater runoff from an impervious surface. Could be a roof, could be a parking lot, or really even a compacted playing field. The rain garden is just a planting, a little divot in the ground with plantings, an area of plantings, smallish, maybe 100 square feet if that. Generally native plants that are self-sustaining and that will just help slow and filter stormwater runoff and improve that. This helps the stream by removing some pollutants, but also to slow flooding downstream. The township has a lot of information on their website. Just I'll point that out to people. There's a brochure that you can access on the environmental page about rain gardens, and also the next one called a riparian buffer and other provisions. So a riparian buffer is not too different from a rain garden, except that it's a corridor along the side of a stream, not a special planting. But it is not a special garden, but it's a specially cultivated vegetation that can include grass or shrubbery or even trees. And the buffer also slows and filters stormwater runoff to protect the stream water. This is along the stream bank edges. So it's not, instead of collecting just from one direct runoff source, it's protecting the whole riverbank in an area. And then a more simple version of that is the no-mow zone, which is just a strip of land adjacent to the stream where vegetation is allowed to grow without being mowed consistently or weed whacked. This zone also helps to prevent excessive stream bank erosion and runoff into the streams. And it also helps to improve the water quality and the problems, flooding problems downstream. And then a rain barrel. I think we've discussed rain barrels before in some settings, but it's a barrel that's specially designed to capture runoff from your roof. It could be applied to the comfort station in the park, for example, and it could be used to provide water for the special garden if it were, were set up there. The township also has a document on the website about rain barrel use. We would like, many people are concerned about the trees in Macrone and in Tennelle for that matter, and we thought we might develop, as part of this proposal, a plan to procure and site young trees that in time would replace some of the replace the older stock that's dwindling in the park now. You have to think long for that kind of development, and in a minute I'll talk about project partners, but we would look to partner perhaps with Chanticleer or something to help provide an addition to the Wren grant, which doesn't exactly cover tree planting of that sort. And an important part of this would be public programming to share the information and to display these installations so that people in the township and people in Garrett Hill could come and see how the rain garden, the riparian buffer, or whatever was eventually part of the final plan, how it looks, how it works, how it's set up, how they might use it themselves. And this being the main goal of the Pennsylvania League of Women Voters is having this opportunity to share the information, practical information that people can use. That would be one of the main aims of the project.
Thanks, Nancy. Does anybody have anything to add?
I would go through and mention the possible project partners or not.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's up to you.
I would just mention them. I mean, there are a lot of many benefits of this project, to the township and to Garrett Hill, and not least of them would be the public education and engagement part, and then the environmental part, but also this simpler treatment of water runoff, these simple treatments actually can reduce the cost to the township of maintaining the parks. But I was going to mention the project partners. In order to make this an application for this grant, you have to have the township engaged. So they are, municipal involvement is required. We would certainly want to engage with the Radnor Township Department of Parks and Recreation for help with planning and realization, with the Radnor Township environmental consultant, who could be a great resource for information too. And the people who are actually responsible for things like mowing, because if we would be trying to have a no-mow zone, we have it clearly marked, know how that works with the people that maintain the parks. And then there's others. I mentioned Chanticleer as possible help for heritage tree replacement. And Darby Creek Valley Association, they could, I don't know quite how, but they could certainly help us with some of the program planning and perhaps with rain barrel access, and there may be many others out there, other groups that could help us. We'd want to coordinate with the Radnor Environmental Action Committee as well. So I would just reiterate to people that if they're interested in participating in the planning or in the project itself, please contact anyone on the GHCET or the GHIC, and we'd be happy to connect with you.
There, I didn't turn the page. Thank you, Nancy. Anything else to add? Okay. So we've got that down. Now we have, let me just check here. Yeah, it's just two groups left, I believe. And there's overlap right now between these two areas. This is park improvements and gateways, crosswalks, and rock slope. So the part that's overlapping is that there was a grant that was obtained to fund park signs for Clemacrone and Emlyn Tunnel, and these park signs will include a sign for the park and also a welcome sign. So I'm not sure exactly which category it fits in, but yeah, I'll let Lee begin, and Jerry and Bob can fill in.
Nancy took part, and Bill took part, now you took part.
Well, anyway, the point is that we have these. Go ahead, Lee.
All righty,
I'm sorry.
that's okay, I'm just kidding you.
Can't help myself.
This is Parks and Improvement Report. On March 29th, 2010, there was a successful cleanup of Macrone Park. During the months of April, May, June, Sarah Pilling and Paul Overbeck donated substantial amounts of time to develop improvements to the new no-mow line and trimming of shrubs at Macrone Park. They have also been in communication with several officials via email about improvements at Emlyn Tunnel Field. Paul or Sarah, would you care to give us a little bit of feedback on what's taking place?
Paul wasn't quite prepared, I see that.
It's just brief, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, well, you're right, we did do some removal of some of the invasive ash trees in the wetland area and planted a number of native plants that Sarah picked out through a nursery in, was it New Jersey? I think it was in New Jersey, and we got, these plants are taking very well, and hopefully with some continued maintenance of that area, we'll be able to keep them growing and not being overtaken by weeds. Like, you know, it happens very quickly down there. So it's almost a monthly battle that you have to get down in there and really pull out some of the native or invasive plants that are still sprouting up there. And I think in September, again, Troop 19, Bryn Mawr Scout Troop will be involved with the cleanup of that area again as part of their service project.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so we'll have hopefully a good number of scouts and their parents to help out. Usually it's early September, but I think in probably August we may need to do a little interim cleanup before they even get there. Just to keep that walkway clear for people to walk through. And a couple of the signs actually that Neil had put in for his Eagle Scout project have actually lifted out of the ground because of the water in the spring, so we have to replace them. And that's something we'll do in the next week or two, I would imagine. So,
Okay.
but that's what I have.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
As Rick had, let's see. Yeah, Rick had mentioned, Radnor Township has recently obtained funding for 4 new signs for Garrett Hill. 1 for Macrone Park, 1 for Emlyn Tunnel Field, and 2 would be the gateway signs to welcome guests into the Garrett Hill, one at either end of Garrett Hill. Betty Lou and I will be attending a meeting with Tammy Cohen of Radnor Township at 8 a.m. on Wednesday, July 28th at Macrone Park to discuss the placement of the signs. And we'd like to invite all those in Garrett Hill community to attend this meeting to help us plan the proper placement of these signs. The signs will also be reviewed by the Radnor Township Design and Review Board at their regular meeting on August 11th, 2010 at 6 p.m. here at the Radnor Township Building. We encourage all Radnor residents to attend. We'd like to thank everyone for all the efforts and everything they've contributed to us thus far in helping us in our efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Jerry, do you want to share anything right now about, or should we, maybe we should just continue with the signs? Okay. Jim, can you put the camera on? I have a couple pieces of paper on the viewing table. And if you can get them up for us, then the TV viewers can see it. Okay, it'll take a second for the projector to warm up. I just want to draw committee members' attention to a few things. First of all, the dimensions. This will be important, of course, on the day you're actually trying to, approximately site these. The large park signs with the supports are actually 5 feet wide overall. Maybe he can zoom in on that one. Thanks. Now, there's an issue, again, that needs to be clarified. One of these signs, where you're looking right now, so the Clement Crone says it's single-sided, but if you would turn this piece of paper over, it has information on the other side, and it says that the Clement Crone will be double-sided. So we're not sure which sign is actually intended to be single-sided or which sign is intended to be double-sided. And maybe this will be resolved actually on that day when you meet and cite the signs. Because that seems to me, if it's going to be for Design Review Board, they're not going to be produced. So these changes could be made quite easily.
I'll note that and ask.
And then the other thing that I'd like to draw committee members' attention to is the Emlyn Tunnel field sign says Emlyn Tunnel Park. And I've never heard anyone refer to it, at least from Garrett Hill, as Emlyn Tunnel Park. It's known as Emlyn Tunnel Field, and I think that change could also be made quite efficaciously and shouldn't be a problem.
Noted.
So we have these two park signs. You see the design of them. And then we're also going to get two welcome signs. One will be sited near Clement Crone, and I believe the other one will be sited near Emlyn Tunnel Park, but this will be determined again on the day when you determine where these signs are going to go. And this is the one, of course, for South Wayne, but it will be similar
But
in
Rick,
design.
since it's a park grant, the signs have to, welcome to Garrett Hill signs have to be near the park or
Well-
a part of the park.
Yes.
That's why we're not
Yes.
talking about the other coming up Conestoga.
That's right. Thank you, Jerry. Jerry's helped me clarify that the gateway signs, actually we have three gateways. We have across from the church coming up Conestoga Road, we have around Lowry's Lane coming east on Conestoga Road, and then in and around Emlyn Tunnel at the bridge. We need a crosswalk there. We thought that would also serve as a gateway. So it will be determined how approximate to the park this Welcome to Garrett Hill sign actually needs to be. Because some committee members have suggested that maybe we could put it across from the church. But again, I can't make that decision, and I think that will ultimately be up to the township. Again, how approximate does it actually need to be? I think I've... Anyway, I think that's about covered. What again? Design Review Board? Okay, the date and time of the meeting. Thank you.
My meeting?
Yeah, when is it, Lee? I don't have it. here.
It'll be Wednesday, July 28th at Clement Crone Park at 8 a.m.
And all interested parties are welcomed and encouraged to participate.
Rick,
Yes.
does it make any sense to ask for a third sign? Well, money, how much, at least to find how much. How much money is,
To answer your question, in my opinion, yes, of course it makes sense to ask. It
Isn't
never
it
hurts to
often
ask.
more efficient to make 3 at one time than 2
Well,
in one?
it possibly is, although I don't know about the economies of scale with this particular project. But the grant itself, in other words, what was actually approved by the commissioners was approved at last night's meeting, and it was the grant for these 4 signs and the amount of $8,840. So there's a little bit of money left on the table, but not much.
But it's also the kind of thing that, I mean, I don't have anybody in mind, but you could identify a donor that would be supportive. I mean, that's, if it's, you're looking for theoretically 2,000 if it was an even quarter, but I'm thinking there's got to be some cost of design.
Yeah, again, I can't answer these questions, but what I suggest is Lee and Betty Lou
Yeah, I'll look into that.
follow up with Tammy at the
Yeah.
meeting.
Because they can have any donor can have a tax deduction for helping us pay for one sign. I mean, that's
There you
what
go.
it's
Good point.
about.
Yes.
Okay, so just as I sort of walked all over Lee's report, I'm sure Lee has walked all over Jerry's report. Is there anything you'd like to say about the rock slope at this point in time?
No, it looks like I just got this from Rick, this email, it looks like from John, that there is stuff happening here. It looks like there's a grant from the state for $10,000 to go towards this. It looks like they're going to try to form a group between Garrett Hillian Scouts and Villanova students and try to come up with something that we can do down there, so.
Right. To sort of elaborate, this is a $10,000 grant. It's going to expire. I do believe, I think it was extended, but in any event, the point is that it's not enough to do what we want, but maybe it's enough to get some improvement down there. So, John Fisher, our commissioner, is working on seeing if we can actually utilize that funding. And I think is it a state grant or a federal grant? I forget.
It looks like state grant, and
Okay.
he's looking into another grant, Pico Green Region grant for 2011, so.
So we have some hope on the horizon there. I think that actually concludes our subgroup reports, unless I've missed something. Once again, to reiterate, next Wednesday morning, 8 a.m. At Clement Crone to talk about approximately siting these signs, getting these questions resolved. And our next Garrett Hill meeting will be Tuesday, October 19th, here, 7 p.m. at the Township Building. Again, I'll be communicating by email, but it's time for us to start making our priorities. I think we ought to work individually, think about the priorities within our own subgroups, and then we need to come together at this meeting and try to prioritize these things overall. And along with our priorities, I'm looking for pieces anyway of a draft of recommendations to make so we can assemble that in January and approve it through motion and our voting. So is there any other unfinished business? Any new business? Anything that anybody'd like to say in the public? Okay.
I promise I'll be short. Patty Barker, I actually have 3 things I'd like to bring up. Each of you in your subgroup committee reports have asked for help from the community and are looking for interested participants. And I want to remind you that at our April the 8th Garrett Hill Coalition Community meeting, we did collect names with specific subgrouped interests. So Rick, if you could hand those out again.
Actually, I can't, dear. I was going to mention that myself, but somehow I forgot the red folder, so they're not here.
I ran those off
You've all received them electronically, and I'll send them off again electronically.
after I ran them off. Anyway, and they're divided by subgroups, so I would like to encourage you to contact those people and see if they're still interested. Many of them are people you see in front of you, but also there are people that really stepped up and were interested in helping out. So if
Again, I
you
think
could-
you're all aware of this list, so
And if
it's
for
a good
some
reminder.
reason-
Thank you.
You're talking over me. It's public participation. Anyway, if you don't have it, let Rick know and we'll email it to you. Secondly, at last night's meeting, when you were talking about the grant money and the possibility of getting a third sign, they did talk about the fact that the leftover money was going to go back to the state. So it seems to me that if you're interested in pursuing this, I would contact either Tammy or it was Bill Martin who spoke to that last night, and just ask if what is the cost per sign, and if we could find a donor to fill in that last amount of money, would they not send it back to the state? I wasn't sure how quickly that was going to happen, but he did say the state was going to be very happy to get that money back. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is that I know that the Board of Commissioners is actively looking for a 9th member to your committee. So I just wanted to announce to anybody watching at home that if anyone is interested in serving on the Garrett Hill Implementation Committee, and ideally we'd love to have another Garrett Hillian, although any Radnor Township resident is able to submit, that you should submit a letter of interest to Radnor Township. And again, before this, it was Bill Martin. I'm not sure if that's still the case. But looking for another Garrett Hillian to serve. And I just wanted to thank you all for your efforts and your continued volunteerism and support of our community.
Thank you. Any other comment? Okay, Jerry, I'm looking for it.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.